Okay, I wanted to do a third video, and I, again, am not focusing on Laurel Everly. I'm not interested in associating her with this, but I am interested in Charles Freitag and whether he is JTTF, and I'll explain why. I'm not saying over here that this blacked out name here on this lease is Charles Freitag. It's obviously Laura's relative, though I won't say. But I'm saying this person has access to this person's computer. That's what I'm saying. And if this person recruited somebody like Imran Awan back here in Northern Virginia Community College and Springfield High School, or one of the high schools over here, Edison High School, that person having access to this computer would be very, very important. Okay? And again, I did not come up with Operation Underground Railroad. This is a published operation that you can look at that JTTF has published through DHS, through the Department of Homeland Security. JTTF is behind that. Kind of came out of the FBI, like I mentioned before, but then kind of was codified with the Patriot Act and the Department of Homeland Security. That's who's running all this operation, JTTF and DHS. The guy who runs Operation Underground Railroad, Tim Ballard, is ex-DHS. He's ex-CIA, makes no bones about it, okay? I'm talking about a program he's done a film of, Tim Ballard has done a film of, and it's so far down in the, I've done several films about him, so far down in the deck that my computer won't handle it. But the reason why I mentioned the story about me being in the KFC last night, and I don't think the guys were taking my picture, coming up to take my picture because I was Brad Pitt, is because Tim Ballard is Brad Pitt. Tim Ballard is Brad Pitt. I actually think they're the same person. No, they're not the same person, but man, he's a Brad Pitt lookalike. So that's what I'm saying here is a very pretty bow has been put around this Operation Underground Railroad by JTTF. A very pretty bow has been put around this, but what it really is, with all this low light photography and all this coaxing these girls out of these high schools and so forth and community colleges to go to these parties with people in procurement or people in key positions in the Coast Guard. It's about infiltration. It's about taking advantage of people in key spots, both on the buyer side and the interdiction side, and putting your people in there in those spots. This is how you do it. If you are going to take people out, look at the CIA and their methodology. Look at JTTF and their methodology. They're the ones who did a whole film on this, Operation Underground Railroad. It's actually Operation Underhanded Railroading. You identify key people in purchasing here, and you identify key people in interdiction here. If you look at where the apartments are for the Awans, they're near these locations. They're all over these locations for recruiting, then also for the actual, meetups and the rooms, electronics rooms and so forth. That's what they are. If Charles Freitag just wants to come forward and explain his role, if he is in JTTF or not, ask him if he's familiar with Operation Underground Railroad. Ask him if he's ever been associated with American Innovations. Ask him if he's ever sold any cameras to JTTF through American Innovations. Ask him if he ever has met this gal named Jaquela, who was at Northern Virginia Community College. Ask him if he has ever, any checks have ever been cashed, right? Any checks have ever been cashed for that brown gal after her death, okay? These folks shouldn't be making decisions about who lives or dies. These are enforcement folks. These JTTF folks are enforcement folks. They're not the final arbiters of who gets to live or die or who shouldn't be at the Coast Guard or who shouldn't be at Fort Belvoir. They're law enforcement. They're not the legislative arm. They're not the legal arm. They're not the judicial, They're not the judicial arm. They're law enforcement. They should be law enforcement. They should be bound by the Constitution. This low-light camera photography, this Operation Underground Railroad, running it through private parties. If you think I'm making this up, go look up Operation Underground Railroad. They have a whole film of how they do it. We recruit people, we recruit the girls, we recruit the guys, we have meetup spots, boom, boom, boom. And we compromise the guys. right? And we have self-congratulatory dinners where we give each other medals for compromising the guys. Okay? Now, if Charles wants to come after me, you know, that's great. That's actually a good thing because it'll expose this whole JTTF thing. That's a good thing. If he wants to sue me, that's even better because we get discovery. Okay? So I'm laying it out there.